All right, we're back with another episode of the Big Thoughts podcast with your host, Gordon.
Yes, Tomi and Gordon, public speaking coach, inspirational speaker.
Brilliant. And for today's episodes, we're going to be talking about overcoming failure. And the first question I want to pose to you is, what is your interpretation of failure?
A long time ago, I would have answered the question saying failure is the opposite of success, which you would think, right? But as I've developed a growth mindset, I've gone on this journey of personal development, I believe failure is the key to success.
Expand on that.
In order to succeed, you're going to go through hardship, trials, tribulations. Not everything you try is going to work out immediately, but you learn as you go along, because you learn more from your failures than your successes. So you have to fail forward, and that's essentially, and that's what I think in my life, and I've realized.
Yeah, I think language is very important, and it can either help you or have a negative impact. And with the word failure, it has negative connotations, because you think if you failed, it's absolute. It is the end of a journey. There's nothing more you can do. It's irreversible. When in actual fact, a point you've alluded to is that it's a part of getting to that end goal. It is an opportunity for you to learn. And with what I just said, it's that shift in perspective, because in the past when I have failed, I thought, okay, on to the next thing. This hasn't worked out. Whereas now, when I fail, I just think to myself, okay, what can I learn from this? Because I have failed many times, and honestly, I just laugh about it. I'll share a story with you. This was in the year 2023, I believe. Me and Fred went to an independent school show, some of the biggest independent schools in the country. Okay, I'm talking they would have members of the royal family of different countries in Europe attending. Tuition fees 30,000-40,000. There was a head teacher that we connected with, and he grew a liking to us. He then invited us to visit the school, which was in Wales. Okay, me and Fred drove there. This was like a 6-hour drive, and on the way there, we were thinking to ourselves, okay, how are we going to position this? We need to have like a proposal, because he was telling us to come for the next 3 days, and we wanted to, by the end of that weekend, to come with a proposal. We went there, amazing school. We visited his family. He introduced us to his wife. The school was absolutely amazing. And then on the final day, he brought us to his office. There was a proposal that I created, and in a nutshell, it was for us to deliver communication skills training for the students. And it will be at X amount, and we can do this over a weekend since it is in Wales. When we gave him the proposal, he read through it for like 2 minutes. He then looked to his left and said to us, I don't think this will work. Not right now. It's not really a priority. And one thing you will learn about me is when I'm annoyed, disappointed, you can see it on my face.
Heart in your sleeve.
And when I say I spaced out, I was in absolute shock.
Mad, yeah.
I thought we did everything correctly. And I was just like, I've just invested 48 hours. We've traveled to Wales. What is going on?
Yeah.
And we've got nothing out of this. On the way back, and I think it was through these experiences, I was able to look at all of these situations completely differently. me and Fred were speaking and we laughed about it. We said to ourselves, only us would drive all the way to Wales, think we could sign a 5-figure, 6-figure contract with a school and then not get anything. This is so funny. We are delusional. But then at the same time, we said to ourselves, we should never get rid of this mindset. If we see an opportunity, pursue it 100%. If you fall short, so what? You learn from it. And that's what helps you to overcome these situations, because you always look for the learnings from it. And then the next time you do better.
Yeah.
Do you get what I mean?
The key is, from what you said, the next time. Some people close the door on potential opportunities because they believe that that is the last and the only time. So it comes down to either having an abundance mindset or a scarcity mindset. Some people think if they messed up, they didn't secure the deal today, they lost the job, got injured, the marriage didn't work out, that it's all over. Yes, it may feel like your whole world is falling down like a ton of bricks, but it's really not the end. But it depends on your perspective.
Yeah, I think so. And at the same time, when it comes to overcoming failure, when you're alone with your thoughts, it can be very difficult.
Yeah.
I remember when I first lost my job, and for context, I used to work in the event space. I did a analyst job. Mm-hmm. And just think, the pandemic, COVID-19, running events was now redundant. Mm-hmm. We wasn't getting enough business. A lot of our clients were cancelling their contracts with us. I remember I was being brought into office, and this was my first job after graduating. And my manager said, unfortunately, we're going to have to let you go. Absolutely amazing. You've been here for the last 8 to 12 months, but we're not really generating any revenue at the moment, unfortunately. When I was home, when I say I was frustrated, every single day my mum would ask me, okay, have you been applying for jobs? How's it going? 6 months passed, she would be asking me the same question. I was trying, but nothing was working. Mm-hmm. And then at the same time, social media, because everyone just shows their highlights. You have conversation with your friends and everything is going really well for them. And I'm happy, but also it's a reminder that things are not working out for me. And that just makes things get worse. Your insecurities just resurface. You start to question everything about yourself. You're looking in the mirror and you can't recognize the person you've become because you're constantly in this negative spiral of thoughts and feelings. But honestly, and I appreciate going on this journey with Fred because we've been able to counsel each other. And going through these periods of failure, we remind each other that this is part of the journey. And I remember when I first reconnected with him, this is before we started Believing Greatness, that reconnection came through a joint frustration with our current circumstances. The fact that we wasn't in jobs that we liked. I lost my job at the same time. We wasn't financially in a good place. In terms of where we was taking things, we wasn't sure. And through that, we was able to support each other through those difficult times.
Yes.
And because we was on this journey together, we was able to get onto the other side. And the point I'm trying to make is when you're going through this journey that we call life by yourself, it can be very difficult. And my question to you is, and there's a lot of people in this situation where they do feel alone. And when they're dealing with failure, because the only counsel they get is from their thoughts, a lot of the time that feedback loop isn't in any way helping them. What can they do if they feel that way, alone? No one's there to support them. Because we have the luxury that you can just pull up your phone, call your friends, call me, call Fred, and you can get that counsel. Whereas for other people, they may not necessarily get that. But how can they overcome that?
Wow. That's really deep. What you touched on there, I've been very fortunate and blessed myself to have a great support system, family, friends, partners, Fred, Gordon. But for someone who doesn't have that sense of community, and if anyone listening right now is in that situation, I really do hope that as you begin to put one foot ahead of the other and actually seek some help from people, you'll get out of that rabbit hole, that dark hole you're in. But please seek help, whether that is a former colleague, a family member you haven't spoken to in a while. Please, because no man is an island, no person is an island. You can't do it on your own. It can be dark, it can be very difficult, but please just reach out to someone for help. Whoever it could be, just keep trying, because we need each other.
And I think the key word I take from everything you said was community, because I see that as a space for like-minded people to connect. And by being and placing yourself in an environment where you're with people that are going through similar struggles, rather than seeing the failure, the setbacks as a bad thing, you accept that I'm not the only one going through this. Because that was the mistake that I made. At the start of my journey, being unemployed, not having money, I thought, because of what I see on social media, everyone else has abundance of wealth, whereas I'm the only one that is left out and is suffering, when in reality there's a lot of people in a similar situation. It's no different with confidence and overcoming that fear of being judged and insecurities. When you're in a community with like-minded people and you can openly express yourself, there comes the opportunity to heal.
Yes.
And then think about the solutions rather than focusing on the challenges in front of you.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'll just tell you more about my story, like even coming back from Nigeria. So I was born in London, moved to Nigeria, lived there for about 7 years, and I came back with the aim and aspiration to become a professional footballer. And I'm still on that journey, but it's been crazy. I remember getting rejected by Liverpool. I went on trial there.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, about 15 at the time. I was crying. I thought it was the end of the world. Locked myself in my room. But I had my dad there by my side, knocking on the door, saying, "It's all right, son, come out. Let's talk about this. It's not over. Just keep going." Then also had trials with Crystal Palace and Wolves. Got rejected. Didn't make it there. Kept going. And even recently, just in the last 12 months, I got a really bad knee injury. Fell into depression. I was anxious. I was depressed. I actually was on sleeping pill medication as well. I couldn't sleep at night because of all the thoughts that was rushing through my mind. I also got laid off from one of my jobs, got made redundant because the company wasn't making enough money. It's just business, but it affected me as well. Then also I had to resign. I was working as a personal trainer, trying to do coaching on the side in the fitness industry. It's crazy. Unreal pain all happening at the same time. But what that's taught me is perseverance. And thanks to my community, believe in greatness, my family, friends, I'm now in a much better place, getting back into schools, doing TEDx, public speaking, coaching. But it doesn't happen overnight. And overcoming failure is a difficult thing. But the earlier you fail and go through these trials and tribulations, the better. Because when more hardship and failure come later down the line, you're better prepared for it. It's nothing new, necessarily. It might be a new situation, but it's all kind of the same thing, overcoming that adversity. So it just makes you stronger for the places that you're elevating to.
And what's clear to me is that through those experiences, you've been able to build resilience, which is a skill in itself. And when you look back on things in retrospect, do you still have that frustration, or has that turned to acceptance and looking forward? Because the reason why I ask is I've been in similar positions before where You dwell on the past. You're disappointed with how things turned out. But the reality is, it can't be changed. The future, we can't predict it. But the present is where you can make a difference. And I want to understand how your mindset has changed to help you get through those struggles.
Absolutely. I think taking a different approach and perspective, shifting your mind from why are these things happening to me to what can I learn? Not every situation that you're going through right now or that you've been through is necessarily your fault, but it becomes your responsibility to learn from the hardship, the failure, the difficulty, to come out on the other side stronger, wiser, and better. So when you begin to take responsibility for your life and the things you've been through, it's a game changer.
Practicing complete accountability for every aspect of your life. I remember with the job I mentioned I got laid off from and I was unemployed. At first, I took the option to blame everybody else. It is their fault, because that made me feel a bit better about myself. It was outside of my control. There's others at fault. But after a period of time, I realized that didn't help me. My situation was exactly the same. I haven't progressed in any way. And then I just thought to myself, I need to look within and just think, okay, if I could do this again, what could I do better? Because I'm sure there are many listeners who are frustrated at the moment or have been frustrated if it's not making it in your dream field. If it's to be an actress, actor, footballer, in your case, or if it's getting a promotion at work and you haven't been recognized for the good work you have done, the easiest option is to blame other people because the final decision was theirs to make. And honestly, you'll feel better about yourself. There's a lot of people 10, 15 years down the line. I even saw a publication and it was of a lady that was first in line to become Hannah Montana. Very random. 15, 20 years later, she's still talking about it. I could have become Hannah Montana. It's in the past. Let it go. That can't be changed.
Yeah.
And because you're stuck in the past, you never look at the opportunities that are in front of you, because she could have got another role which was 10 times bigger. And I think for many of us, because we dwell on the past, which I'm sure for most of us, even me, it's difficult for us to accept and to overcome, the present provides so many opportunities. And in this interconnected world that we live in, there's a lot of things you can do today and value to provide. Go out there and explore. Accept that, you know what, I have failed. However you want to phrase it's happened. But as you mentioned beautifully, what can I learn from it?
Yeah.
That shift in perspective provides healing. It helps you in a number of ways.
Absolutely. And I love the word perspective because there's so many different ways we can look at how that applies to failure and overcoming it. Fixed versus growth mindset. Clearly, that publication about the lady talking about being a Hannah Montana, she's fixed.
Yeah.
We have to grow. And the truth is, life will pass you by. The world is going to keep spinning if you dwell and sit in that pity party mood. Okay, all right, yeah. Don't get me wrong. I go through things and I feel sorry for myself for a bit, but not for long. It's okay to not be okay, but it's not okay to stay that way. And we're not trying to be toxic here and tell you, oh, it doesn't matter what you've been through, get up, go grind. We know people release that kind of content out there. That's not what we're about. This is a safe place, even when people come to the workshops and being coached, public speaking skills, getting sharpened. It's a safe place. Open up. We'll be here for you to help you heal. But we need to take steps to get to a better place. If I open up to Gordon about things I've been through this year and how it's affected me, you'd like to think a year from now, 2 years later, we're having different conversations and not dwelling on what's happening now.
Yes.
That's what it's about.
Want to be talking about the achievements from today.
Yeah.
And I think there's not much more I can really add to what you said, because you articulated yourself really well. When you think about your story, what really sprung out to me was the role that your dad played. Because with that disappointment, when you're by yourself, you would continue crying, being upset at the fact that you fell short of your expectations. But having someone there for you to say, I'm going to instill you that belief, it's not over yet. You can still do it. The possibility is there. It helps you significantly.
Absolutely.
And this is why I said, especially if we're looking to overcome failure, community is really important, because it would be easy for me to say, shift from a fixed to a growth mindset. Write down your goals. Have a system. Think about what you're doing every single day. Rather than see it as a failure, think about the opportunities to grow. All of that is valid, but there's only so much we can do by ourselves.
Yep.
And to have other people around you pursuing the same goals on the same journey that can help you when you're not in the best space, it means a lot, honestly. Because as a man, I've been conditioned to believe that men shouldn't cry, men shouldn't open up. And that's why growing up, when I was struggling, I didn't share it with anyone. I've always been a very observant person, especially with me being naturally an introvert. I've observed quite a lot, being aware of a number of things that maybe I shouldn't necessarily have been aware of at a young age. But because of that, I've held a lot of things in.
Yeah.
And then when I lost my job, the first thing I did was not say anything about it. I remember, and I have no problem sharing this, one of my friends passed away. This was in 10 years ago now, 10 plus years ago. And when he did, the first thing I did was hold it in. I didn't say anything about it. I just kept quiet. I cried alone to myself, but then I wouldn't open up to my family and friends. And public speaking has honestly given me that healing, because it's allowed me to openly express myself, to not care about being judged by others, to see individuals, men, women, that are brave enough to open up about their struggles and to freely express themselves. It has been beautiful for me, because the space we've created has allowed that, and then it puts you on the path to overcome, to grow.
Absolutely. You touched on some really deep things there about community. I think it's actually proven that when a patient gets discharged from hospital, the chances between survival afterwards massively increase when they've got a support system, a loving family. Some people end up relapsing a lot of the time when they haven't got loved ones to go back to. I think it's really important in life to have those people around you. And even with Believe in Greatness, for people who may not already know, that I attended the event last year where I met Fred and Gordon on my own. I didn't have any friends to come with me at the time, but I still went. And a year later, I've been working with the organization. We're doing great things and excited to see what the future holds. But it comes from actually putting yourself out there, seeking help, realizing you can't do it on your own. And we spent a lot of time talking about failure today. But what I want to talk about also is success, because we talked about how we can't dwell on our failures. But in order to achieve more, even if you've succeeded and done something great today, amazing. Give yourself a pat on the back. Celebrate however you wish. But there's even more to do. Done TEDx now. It doesn't stop here. Spoken at that school, this school, that corporation. Secured this deal. It doesn't stop there.
It doesn't stop.
Because there's more to do. So we need to take the same approach with failure as we do with success. Okay, what can I learn from what went really well? How can we do even more? Enlarge, expand, create more.
Your experiences, the impact is all dependent on your perspective and how you see it. That is the reality. when I quote unquote fail now, I just laugh about it and I learn from it. Whereas for others, that's something that will stop them in their tracks. And that's why it's important that we just understand and accept with the nature of how life is, there'll be peaks and troughs, ups and downs. It happens, accept it. A lot of things are in our control, that's what we focus on. And the things outside of our control, I don't care about it. For example, if I go to an interview at, I don't know, one of the biggest corporations in the world, I will do everything in my power to be as successful as I can be. I will prepare. I will do mock interviews with my partner. I will do research on the company. I'll prepare 3 questions I'm going to ask at the end of the interview. If I do everything right, but then the interviewer says I lack the experience, I'm not the right person for the job, they give me the unfortunately email I'm sure many of us have received in the past, I won't be frustrated because I did everything I could. Let me just learn from this. If it's experience I need, let me address that. Because a lot of the time, we focus on things that are outside of our control. And that's why I'm not frustrated, because as long as I've done everything I can, that's all I can do.
Absolutely.
That's all I can do. If I still fall short, it is what it is.
I think ultimately, summing that up is living life with no regrets. And I just want to encourage everyone today, look yourself in the mirror and think, could I do more? Is there more I could do? Push yourself, live life with no regrets, so that when you come to the end of the road, you can be proud and say, I actually gave it my all.
As we wrap up, what's your one tip to help any of our listeners overcome failure?
So I would definitely say, don't think it's the end of the world. There's a lot more. The most successful people you've seen today in any industry have failed countless times. And also, winners lose more than losers. The difference between a winner and a loser is that a loser loses and gives up. A winner loses and keeps pushing on till they get it right.
Amazing. And the one thing I'll say is always look for the opportunities to learn, and rather than dwell on the challenges in front of you, the failures, try to find solutions. Focus on what you can control, and I'm sure you will get there eventually. Thank you. This wraps up another episode of the Big Sports Podcast, which has been absolutely amazing, with your host Gordon.
Yes, and Tomi and Gordon.
And we'll be back soon. Thank you.